beautiful people. Welcome to this week's podcast episode. Welcome back to the Sovereign Divinity podcast. And this week, my special featured guest is Tiffany Winkler. Tiffany is a life coach, energetic healer, and Akashic Practitioner. And I'm so excited to have her on this week's episode as we continue our chat around light language. So Tiffany is an activator and guide for middle-aged women who are ready to redefine their life, their love, and relationships. And she speaks to women who have heard their inner voice but feel trapped in societal roles. As a former Pilates teacher, she saw within her clients the deep connection between their life outside the studio and the ability to create a change within their bodies inside the studio. And this is where and when she discovered the natural progression of her calling. She was able to see the much deeper meaning in the famous Joseph Pilates quote, "The mind shapes the body." She works with the awakened women who are ready to follow the truth and lead the life they were designed for. And she wants to be the heroine of your story, of your life story, and the energy to support you right here on this planet, right now.
All right, Tiffany, welcome to the Sovereign Divinity podcast. I'm so excited to be having this chat with you. How are you doing today?
I am doing great, Abigail. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here.
Oh, it is our pleasure, right? So, Tiffany, I'm really excited to hear about your journey with light language. How did it even begin? How was it like? How did it get activated for you?
Ooh, well, it was probably activated for me as a child growing up in a Baptist church, I would say, is my first experience with it. Of course, it wasn't called light language, but that was my first experience, hearing that in the congregation. And then as I got older, I was actually forced by my parents to speak it.
Huh.
Which is that's probably another whole story, right? That's another whole podcast.
Ooh.
And so then, as my parents kind of got away from the church, and I grew away from it and began my own spiritual journey probably 15 years ago. But it wasn't until the last, maybe it's been a year and a half now, that it just started coming into my awareness again. A friend of mine actually had seen a program for it, and she was going to attend it, even though she was already speaking it. So I thought it was kind of weird, but I was like, oh, that's interesting. And all of a sudden, the phrase that I used to repeat way back in my childhood came back to me. Now, this is, probably 35 years ago. And I was like, oh, wow, that's really interesting that those specific words came back to me. And it just kind of sparked something in me, and I just started to just kind of play with it and let it flow. And it became really a personal thing for me. And then as that evolved, then I, went on to share it. But that's kind of how it got the ball rolling.
I think it's still really cool how your parents actually nurtured that at the beginning. That's something that I haven't heard yet where as you start, you're surrounded by, like that support system that allows you to just flow with it and nurture it and allow it to flourish. So that is incredible.
Well, I don't know if I would use the word nurture. It was definitely kind of like, you're going to do this. And it's quite uncomfortable when, you're sitting there and all eyes are on you and it's like, speak, but that's kind of the one memory that I have of it, even though it was something not unusual to me because I grew up hearing it so often. So I didn't think anything was weird. I think just being like, kind of put on the spot to do it wasn't the most comfortable thing, especially as like a young teen. And you're like, a little kid, you're not self-conscious, but when you're a young teen, you're extremely self-conscious.
Exactly.
And, feelings of embarrassment and, all that. But there's probably more around that I don't even really remember. But yeah, I am grateful that, like I said, it's not a foreign thing to me, even though that's in a different context, so to speak.
So what you were speaking or in the church, that was what they call tongues, right?
Yes.
Tongues?
Yeah.
So looking at both, this is like a conversation I've always wanted to have because I'm curious how, if they're similar or if they're different and, like, how are they, to me, when I listen to it, they feel so different in energy, like in frequency. One feels more like denser than the other in a way for me. And so I wonder, what is your take on it?
Well, I haven't thought about it, but however, just tuning in, I would totally agree that it feels denser. And I don't know if my filter, I have a not so great experience with the church. So I have that filter.
Yes.
And in trying to set that aside, it does. I think what the similarities, I would actually think there's many people who do light language that are channeling a specific being or something.
Mm-hmm.
I channel my divine self. I'm not tuning into an angel or whatever. And from what I remember, when speaking in tongues, I mean, their God is speaking through them. So in a sense, it's not quite they're making the connection with themselves in their God self. But it does actually, there's something about the speaking in tongues that actually does feel like a closer God-human connection.
Exactly.
Than channeling another person. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It really does. I think that's the denseness I'm speaking, that is closer to our 3D reality, like us as human is able to just drop right in with us and be physical with us. Where light language, I feel like, is more like this cosmic high frequency that we're able to anchor it down, but it doesn't lose its high frequency. So still, at least that's what it feels to me. So we're able to anchor it down, bring it into our physical reality, but it still does not lose its high frequency because that's what is needed right now for us to get going, get risen up. Yeah. Right. So it's so fascinating to me.
It was so theatrical. And while I think we've made misinterpretations that are negative misinterpretations about that. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. However, as a child, it felt a little like, wow, control yourself, maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we need to get back to theatrics. I'm not quite sure, but
I know what you mean. Yes, yes. As a child, you're like, whoa, this is too much. What is does it really need to be that way? Like, is it really that way? There's so many times that I would just be like, that was unnecessary. It didn't want to come through that way. Why are you acting like that? Like, I would find myself thinking like that as a child watching people. I mean, there were those that I remember there's one pastor and he was praying. We did like an all night like prayer thing, and he began praying and I felt it. I mean, I was probably like 10 or 11,
Mhm.
and I felt it, like every part of my body felt it. And I was
Mhm.
like, oh, so this is really what this is all about. So there's a difference. Like there are people that say like, I'm not feeling anything. What are you
Yeah,
doing exactly? And then
right.
there are others you're like, holy moly, you are truly anchoring that God essence into our reality. It's
Yeah.
incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. I think yeah, there's something when it is a little too wild that takes away from the authenticity or the connection, or it could just be also our societal programming that
Exactly.
has made fun of people like that,
Yes.
in a sense. So it's hard to say,
Exactly.
um,
Oh
there's
man.
always that programming.
Exactly. And I think that's what, in a way, I feel like the light language, or at least the vision that I received as I was receiving this whole podcast and summit series, is that the light language is allowing this to be normal. More and more people are being encouraged, motivated, inspired to actually allow it to come out, to speak it out. It's going to become normal so that we can all return back to that authentic cosmic or galactic language, soul language. There we go. Soul language that we all have, that we can all connect on, regardless of what lineage you're speaking from, what culture you're from, because it's all going to sound different. I mean, even with all of us, everyone, let's say everyone in the US, like if you hear all the people speaking light language, it still feels like they're coming from way different parts of the world because it's a soul
Absolutely.
thing. Yeah. So I'm seeing more and more of that. The light language is really helping us to make it a normal. Like I was shown a picture of us having conversation, like going outside, like in the supermarket and seeing two older people talking in light language. Like it's just any language. And I remember seeing that vision. I just smiled. I was like, yeah, we're heading there. We're absolutely heading there.
Yeah. It is, yeah, it has come about, or it's in my, I see it so much now, where before, it was kind of a rarity, but I do love its presence and resurgence, or whatever you want to call
Yeah.
it.
So, Tiffany, what are some ways that you use light language in your life and in
Yes.
your business?
Right, right. Well, when I first started, it was a personal journey, and when you just, something feels heavy, and like, okay, there's something here, but I don't know what it is. I don't know where to begin. Your mind's trying to figure it out. And as I mentioned to you before, I struggle with being in my mind too much. It takes a lot of effort for me to drop down, right? And so for me, it was just a way for me to get out of my own way. And it was a way for me to feel like I was communicating my needs, my thoughts, my desires, my hopes, my prayers, in just a way to communicate, because I couldn't communicate. Um, and I would just sit there and speak, and it was like, you know the heavens open. You just have this, crying and wailing, and just, you don't even know what's happening, but you just feel like there's a deep release. And again, you just get out of the way. And that's where it started to grow and evolve. And I felt like, whew, this is this is so powerful. It's so beneficial for me getting out of my way.
Yes.
And it helps me to, because I then naturally get out of my mind, because you can't be speaking it and be all up in your head. My clairs would, I would hear things, I would see things, I would feel things. I would just like everything just, and, it's another great benefit of that. And so that was personally, and I can't really recall exactly what made me think about sharing it. I just, it's one of those things like you just know. You
Yeah.
just know. And I wanted to do short light language healing videos on my YouTube channel. I wanted short and sweet, not these hour-long things. I don't have time for that. For myself. God bless everybody that does it, because I've
Oh,
certainly listened to hours and hours and hours of stuff. But
yes.
but not only did I just want it short and sweet and really powerful, those are always my intentions, but it was also a way for me to kind of put my foot in the water without like jumping in,
Yeah.
to get some experience with it, to see how it felt, for others. And that's how I started using it in my work. And I may or may not using it depending on what, how or in what way I'm working with somebody.
Yeah.
Um, it's, yeah, it's kind of me also being an introvert and being, that's another thing, like me, especially to do something like that, to be on video and then to speak some crazy words. It's like, who is this person? I don't know who she is yet.
Oh man, I know what you mean. Oh, but like you said, it's like when it wants to come through, it's like it just, for me, it feels like all my inhibition goes away, and it's just like I just need to get it out. I just need to get it out. Like
Yes.
that's what it feels like. And even when I'm speaking, like I just, started posting, like doing videos like that, like on Instagram. Yeah, so I started doing just like you, like just doing a little bit, like a minute, and just posting on like the Instagram stories, YouTube, not even YouTube. It's just Instagram stories and then Facebook stories. And every
Yeah.
time I go back and I see it, I'm like, oh, I did it. Oh God, I can't believe I did it. But again, it just feels like it just wanted to come out. Like it's almost like it goes way beyond me. Like it just coming through me. But yeah, I don't even know how to explain it anymore. Yeah.
I know my breath changes, and I'm like putting my hands on myself. My hands are, I know I have very powerful, active hands, and they're always moving and doing something. And yeah, I go back and I'm like, you know, I don't know who that girl is.
And your mind is like, what did you just do over there? What was that whole hand thing? Like it starts analyzing everything. And I think you mentioned this already, where you cannot be in your mind and speak light language. Like that's I feel like that's one of the big purpose of light language. And I'm gonna ask you that question soon, where it just helps you bypass this construct with built here that prevents us to heal quickly, quantum leap, create magic and miracles in our life. Like we create that in here, makes it harder for us. So it comes in and it's just like, hey, I'm just going to break through right here. Let's just get to the point. Let's do this. Let's get through this, And so for you, I've been asking myself this question. I'm like, why? Why do we have to speak light language? Why do we have to? I want to hear your thoughts on that.
Why? I think, the sexy topic is embodiment, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're here to embody on a grander, greater scale. and to make that, you know, that connection into fully sovereign being, I think that is part of what, it's not for everybody. I don't think that's the path for everybody, of course, but it certainly is a wonderful tool and a wonderful connection way to make that connection, to embody your higher self. To, I always see us as like, you know, our higher self, we're just like this light, and there's only so much of that light that's like shining through all our crap.
Yes.
And we're just kind of breaking that shell more and more, and shining our light more and more, and expanding our energy more and more, and our true power more and more. And so, yeah, I mean, that's definitely one, light language is definitely one way to
I really love that. I love that embodiment of more of your higher self, your divine light, like embodying, like bringing it into the physical and fully being it. Like that's so powerful. So
Yeah.
far, and it really brings the emphasis on how, you know, like we've reached a time where we cannot put spirituality as over here and woo woo. Like we need to bring it into our physicality,
Right.
combine it, bring it back together so that we can have the biggest benefit from it, and it can do what it was here to do in the first place, right?
Right.
So it's
Right.
really, yeah, that's really powerful. Thank you for
We
that.
can live from that space all the time, and just not when we're on, you know, just not when we're working with a client, or just not when we're in our cars and we, you know, I don't know about you, but when I'm in my car, I feel like a freaking genius. I'm just like, feel so connected. I'm like, if I could just work while I'm driving, I would be like set. But
Oh, that is so fascinating.
yeah, so yeah, the more we are embodied, we're continually acting from our higher self, and, you know,
Oh, yes.
deciding in everything we do, who we're with, how we raise our children, how the food we put in our bodies, what we decide to listen to, the doctors we decide to
Mm-hmm.
not believe, you know, take control of our health again. All these things, when we're empowered, the more embodied we are, the more empowered we are.
I absolutely agree. I also love that you mentioned embodying your higher self, because one thing that I want our listeners to get from this series is that, you know, yes, there are some that will channel like angels and
Mhm.
ascended masters, you know, like speak the light language through them, but not everyone does that. And so if for you, like for me, light language comes straight from source. Like when it comes, it's like just straight down through my channel. I was like, okay, just
Yep.
straight down. That's where it's coming from. So
Yep.
you got to honor where yours is coming from too. And I love that you mentioned that so that people know that, you know, light language is not about who you're channeling. It's about what wants to come through you authentically. You know,
Mhm.
it is a soul language. It is you coming through. It's the codes that you came here to share with humanity that wants to come through. So thank you for sharing that, so that people know that there's so many ways that light language can come through us.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think the more we become sovereign beings, the more too we will not tune in or channel other beings, to be honest. Um, you know, I always felt for the longest time that I wasn't good enough, or there was something wrong, because I never had that guide talking to me. You know, everyone's like, oh, me and Archangel Michael, we're tight, or
Mm,
so-and-so, like I've always had a deep connection with Jesus,
yes,
um, with the Magdalenes.
of course. We're
But,
both doing, yeah.
oh, my sister circle. Yes. Yes.
Exactly.
When I,
Yes.
when I feel like, oh, I gotta call in the big guns, I call in my sister circle there.
Yes.
But yeah, I kind of always thought, oh, I'm not as good as someone
Mm,
else that has that. But in a sense, I'm kind of now, the more that I grow and understand, because we're always learning and evolving, and you know 3 months from now we'll probably be having a different conversation.
oh, totally.
Everything's changing that fast. But in a way, I'm kind of grateful that I bypassed that. It's like I don't need that. I am my own source, I and
There's a truth in there. There's absolute truth in there. I had that same thing as I was, because I know I'm a channel, like it's just part of me. And, I
mhm,
started watching people channel, archangels, and I was like, oh, I can do that too. I mean, it comes very easy for me.
mhm,
And one time that I was talking to someone, she's like, you don't have to like channel all these different things. Like it's making you confused. It's pulling you away from what you truly are here to channel. And that switched everything for me. Because then I started receiving messages like, no, you don't have to channel us. You're just practicing. We get it. But that's not your purpose. You are a channel for the divine. Like they took me straight up. And again, since then, it's just been just connecting to my own divinity, my higher self. Like that is my center. I don't need to go to an ascended master because the wisdom that they would tell me is already encoded with them. They've already poured it in here. I don't need to go here and there and there. Like they just
mhm.
brought me right into my center. So that's like a conversation we can have on like, because it's so fascinating how so many people get lost in the channeling world, by trying to figure out what they need to channel, where they need,
Yeah.
and
It
even perhaps
becomes a bit of
opening
a
up.
crutch, I think.
Mhm.
A bit of a crutch. But again, it's a stepping stone. Like we've all
Yes.
had our stepping stones, and I honor it. It is incredibly valuable. But like
Yeah.
like everything is a stepping stone. So
Yes. It's almost like what I just heard. It's like a training wheels. Like they assist us so that we can get comfortable with the channeling. But then at some point we need to come back to the truth. What exactly are you here to channel? What are you a channel of? Like after you've had all those, it's like going to class and practicing. But
right.
at some point it's like, what are you here to channel? What
Yeah.
are you here? Because it's about your codes. It's about what you're here to share with humanity and help humanity get uplifted and healed. Like that is the whole point. So
Hmm.
fascinating. Oh, we can talk about this all day.
I
So
know.
for, since we're talking about that, for, the listeners and those watching us who are starting to feel the urge, the inspiration to start to share their codes and maybe for the
Hmm.
first time, like speak it out loud. What,
Hmm.
well, what am I looking for? What advice would you give them to kind of make that process a little bit like, okay, I can take this step?
Yeah. Yeah. I would say to someone that is wanting to tap into that aspect, starting with your breath. I mean, there are a lot of people that literally feel uncomfortable making an audible breath, that when you're like, exhale, I want to hear it, and you're like, ah, like that, they're like, oh no, I'm not doing that. um,
Yes. Hmm.
so
Yeah.
it's get in a space where nobody can hear you, and simply just starting with audible breathing, I think, is um, a great place to start. If that's something you're already comfortable with, I would start saying, making like simple syllable sounds, la la la, or a noise, something repeatedly. It's like when you just start, it just starts to come out. It just starts to grow. And when I started initially, I was saying pretty much the same 2 or 3 phrases over and over for months. It was the same thing, same thing, same thing. And then it just kind of the sentence became longer, and then it became longer. And then, all of a sudden it was different every time. So if you're saying the same phrase kind of over, great. Like that's not a bad thing. Stick, just keep doing it. And it's going to sound like, oh, I am so making this up. This is not even real. But that's when just sitting with yourself, which we can all take all the language aside. We can't even just sit with ourselves. It's so uncomfortable, So, it's just, you've got to say, okay, I'm going to sit here through all the discomfort and just be with it and let arise what wants to arise. And, again, that's almost a different topic as well.
Yeah, right.
That we don't want to do, myself included. I would always go to people, tell me what's wrong. Tell me what to do, because I can't sit and listen to myself, because we don't trust ourselves, but we never give ourselves a chance. So, this is a great avenue too, because that is getting out of your mind. That is getting out of like, I shouldn't be thinking, or whatever the old ways of meditating were, where you're not supposed to think or use a mantra or whatever. I could still have a whole conversation with myself and be repeating a mantra. I'm that,
absolutely. Yes. Yes.
So doing a mantra doesn't help me. But if that works for you, great. That works for you. Do what works for you. That's the thing too, is like what works for me is not going to work for everybody. You've got to find what not only works for you, but just what feels true and authentic, what just feels really, really good. Does trying tuning in and speaking light language feel good? Or are you just wanting it because you're not sure? Like, does it feel good? Try it on. You try on clothes and you decide, oh yeah, this looks great. Oh no, I am not wearing this, right?
Exactly. I love that. Try it on, like sit with it. It is really about embodiment, what feels good.
Yeah, because too, as more people come online to this and you see it more and more, like I want it to be, it is sacred. It's sacred. Like don't be throwing it out there if it's not really, truly from your heart. Exactly. And not just you're jumping on a bandwagon, like really, really feel so that, well, like anything, right? We want to keep things pure, and it is, to me anyway, extremely sacred. Just like healing work, you're doing any kind of healing work, whether Reiki or I don't do Reiki anymore, but you're in the Akashic records, and it's sacred. So just do what feels good, because we've all got our thing that we're meant to share.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, well said. Well said. So with that, is there a light language message coming through for our viewers and listeners that you would like to share with them?
Oh, I could definitely share a message. I don't know if any words or intuitive messages will come through, but I can definitely tune in and see. What helps me? Okay, I kind of, when I'm doing, at least when I'm doing it for other people or for a group, what helps me is having like a purpose or an intention. And so I'll just create one then. So how about a message for just tuning into our authentic gifts? How about that? Okay, all right, cool. That helps me kind of get a little more focused. Okay. All right, so if you're listening, I'll just ask you to kind of close your eyes and drop in. And just begin to breathe deep, deep into your belly. Slowing down your breath. Kind of feel all your thoughts just kind of funnel down, wash right out, wash down, 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 and out like a drain. And I just ask that you feel, only feel like all thoughts you're trying to interpret or anything are just, you're just noticing your feelings as this transmission comes through. I'm seeing a lot of pink. I feel it around myself right now, actually. A lot of pink light. Isu shikiana mariato. Si oshukuya tia makaria tia sushu shu 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 shu. You see the message of so many people coming online right now. Inia shu shikiana peya tiotoyana meyate ki o shu 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 shu. Letting thoughts go, letting thoughts go. Uniakashikia tuya kamriate. Ini ashushuya tankia ariashikiti. I literally just saw myself wrapped like a big present. We're the gifts. You are the gifts. Own unique gift, unwrapping your individual self and seeing what lies inside that beautiful decorated box that you are. Inako oshkotuya tiama babariati enia kushu shu 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 inapariati shu kuria. Starting like I'm hearing just falling in love with yourself, falling in love with yourself. Shushuki aniamatoria miate oshoshukuriatiaki asiaki. You are safe. You are safe to explore all that you are. Just wrapping us all in this just beautiful yellow light. It's just a lot of like calming peace right now. Honoring the divine within you. Honoring the divine within you. Placing your hands on your heart. Bowing your head to the divine within you. Thanking the divine within you for this this beautiful, incredible, and challenging human adventure. To honor it, it is hard. It is not always easy. And sometimes we just want to paint over that, but it's not the truth. And honoring that. And when you're ready, maybe rubbing your hands together or rubbing the tops of your thighs and just coming back deeper into your body. Honoring this amazing physical vessel that we're given to have such incredible experiences.
That was so delicious. That was so delicious. I love that you saw the image of being wrapped in that, in the gift. What is it? It's like a present.
Yeah.
And I think you mentioned it's time to unwrap yourself or something like that, so you can see the gift that you are. And that part was just, it was so moving for me. It was so beautiful.
Yeah, I literally saw myself inside this giant green sparkly present with this big red bow. It's amazing.
Oh man. I wonder, and for the listeners and those of you watching, I wonder, did you receive any visualizations? What was your experience with this as you were listening, receiving the light language from Tiffany? So, Tiffany, for those people who resonate with your energy and would love to just be in your world and work with you, how do they find you?
Yeah, so on my website, tiffanywinkler.com, pretty easy. I would love if you want to subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's Tiffany Winkler as well. I have a handful of free light language videos on there, several.
Yes.
And you check them out. And also in the About Me part of YouTube, I just added a link. This is the first time I'm putting this out there. I haven't put it out there on a video yet. I've added an offer. I do a 15-minute, give or take, recording. Ask one area or question or something where I'll do a light language healing, and if any intuitive messages come through, I'll put those in there. And it's just a recording. I send it to you on the day that I do at the time that you make your appointment. Send it to you. It's $20. That's my way of giving on that platform. So if you're interested in that, my Facebook page is actually my coaching is Red Door Coaching. But I would love if anyone wants to friend me. I'm starting a new group called the Heroine's Adventure. And because I'm an explorer at heart, my passion I work with women solely, but redefining midlife. In a couple months, I'm going to be 50. We're at a stage where you're not attached to kids, and just redefining. Like, I'm going away on an adventure. I'll be working and living in the Black Hills for 5 months over the summer, and I'll be doing lots of transmissions from there. There's definitely something with me and the earth and places I'm called to. It's this just beautiful, like, symbiotic healing relationship where I'm receiving healing, and I feel also called to places to heal the land. So I'm starting that group, and I'm so geeked about it because it is definitely for the awakened woman, the one that really knows her truth, but perhaps societal programming or roles kind of keep you from stepping into that. Like going, I'm married, but I'm going to go away for 5 months. I don't have to be here all the time. Right. I can redefine my marriage, and, thankfully it works for my husband. But if it didn't, I would still be going, because I wouldn't be honoring my truth. Right. I'd be at home miserable. So thankfully honors the crazy explorer in me that loves to travel the world and learn and experience and seek knowledge. And so I think that's
Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. So I will have all the links in the show notes, so you can just go on there and find the Facebook group, find her website, all of that yummy information. So you don't have to try to memorize everything, try to jot it down quickly. It will all be in the show notes. So Tiffany, thank you so much. From my heart to yours, thank you for joining me on this delicious chat. And sharing your light with us and your message with us. Thank you.
I'm honored. Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you, listeners, and those of you watching, for joining us for another week of the Sovereign Divinity podcast. We want to hear from you. So make sure you reach out to us and reach out to Tiffany and let her know how, her message impacted you, what you received from it. Just how, whatever comes through, just share with us. We'd love to hear from you. And as always, from our heart to yours. And until next time, bye everyone.
Thank you. Bye.